Om Vang me manasi pratisthita Mano me vachi pratishthitam Aviravir maedhi Vedasya ma'ani sthaha Shrutam me ma prahasihi Anena dhitena horatran samdadhami Ritam vadashyami Satyam vadashyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu vaktaram Avatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today is our third hymn, and I was working on this kind of thinking. I saw some interesting picture about it, and in that sense I sent to Radha, and Radha said that she sees a bit differently, which it's fine to see it differently. I always saw it differently and now I start to see it a bit in connection. And 1 second, I will find my scheme. Here it is. So before I continue with the third hymn, I want to show you where it belongs in my view now. So what I did, I put these three hymns into the perspective of Vedic unfoldment, so to say. The first 9 verses were about the fire, and the fire which is reaching to the supramental, so to say, and back towards Vijnana, to the Svar world, covers Svar world and comes back, so to say. You remember my presentation was about rising and answering, and in that sense this kind of up and down movement is not really contradictory to this what I see it today as reaching to the highest Svar world, because if you reach to the supermind, it is there where the physical and vital and mental meet in one world. So what I was interested is this dynamism. 9, 3, 3, 3. Then we have again 3, 3, 3, and they are dedicated in the second hymn to 3 different devatas, to the Vayu in Indra and Mitra and Varuna, and finally we have the third hymn where we again have 3, 3, 3 and 3 again, and that 3 is 10th basically in my in the system of Vedic knowledge. And though it looks mechanical and symmetrical and a little bit artificial in that sense, it kind of suggests me certain things, and I started to check with the words, with the keywords, and I found them fitting very interestingly into the dynamism of this happening. Also knowing Ashvins and Indra and Vishvedevas and Sarasvati. Sarasvati I cannot really totally identify, but Sri Aurobindo says that it is a very special devata in the Veda. Most probably the Godhead of the divine word, which is kind of it's a stream, a current of the higher consciousness which is pervading the lower hemisphere. All the rivers have this kind of idea of the currents which are descending from above. You know, the hymns to the rivers, especially in these Apri Suktas, when they are mentioned, they are also mentioned as the doors to heaven, portals we can call them, yes, those entries to the higher consciousness. In general, the idea of rivers was about these currents descending into our lower hemisphere, into our lower consciousness from the higher realms. You can imagine that the river is a movement of some current, of some substance from one place to another, over some land, over some place where this consciousness is not present, or this river or these waters are not present. So this idea of the river carrying the substance from one place to another was used by Vedic rishis as the currents. And later in Greek mythology we have also these rivers as nymphas, or these inspirational currents.
What significance do you put on that they're said to be seven Sapta Sindhus?
Right, exactly. The same thing that 7 rivers. Sri Aurobindo speaks about 7 currents of consciousness. And here we have a mystery, because when we speak about 3 times 3, which is I'm presenting now and kind of based my interpretation on, it is not 3 times 3, it is 7 times 7, as Sri Aurobindo somewhere says about this. And because of this complexity, which is very difficult to trace, 7 times 7, we cannot do it. We don't have consciousness really seeing it. We can see 3 times 3, so to say, it's easier for us. Physical, vital, mental, and their interrelations, yes? So we have physical, vital, physical, mental, physical. Then we have physical, vital, mental, vital. And then we have mental, physical, mental, vital, mental, and mental. This we can do more or less, and actually it is the same scheme we can find in the Kabbalistic tradition, in the Semitic tradition, in the Chaldean ancient tradition, 3 times 3. But 7 times 7 would be for us very difficult. Those subtleties in between we would not be able to trace, and they would not correspond to our experience, direct mental experience. I tried to do it, I couldn't make it. It is too complex and too subtle. So we come to 49, as Sri Aurobindo says. 7 times 7 is 49. And 1 plus to it, 1 below, which makes it 50. And there is a projection of these 50 to the higher hemisphere, to the transcendental, so to say, over the supermind, and we will have again 50. And this 50 and 50 make 100, which is the symbolic number of the Vedic rishis. 100, it's a fullness. But I cannot do it. I cannot really, even theoretically, make it. It is very, very difficult. But the idea is there. So this 3 times 3 is a very approximate proposition. But still it is there. I am not sure that you are kind of totally understanding what I am trying to say, because you didn't go through that interpretation of the Vedic paradigm scheme, which was 3 times 3 times 3, and then 3 above Swar world, Trirochana, and above the triple supermind, and above Satchitananda. So there will be, the whole scheme is a very interesting presentation of our triple world of heaven and earth and space in between, Antariksha. This is our triple world, yes?
Quick question. What is the difference between the overmental and the supramental?
Right. Overmental is the world of Swar, Trirochanas, yes? It is the world of the ray of the sun. And supramental is the sun, is the very Atman, very self of the sun. So the shining of the sun, the worlds of the ray of the sun are these triple worlds of Svar. By the way, Sri Aurobindo himself, a long time, he was thinking that Svar was supermind in his early days, and especially when he was writing comments on the Rig Veda. He was sure that it was the supermind. But then later in 30s, after he discovered the supermind, he saw the difference between the rays of the light, the Trirochanas, and the supermind, and he says the difference is in that the overmental realms cannot transform matter. They do not have that power. They can do many things with our consciousness, but they cannot transform the substance, so to say. Only the supramental can do it.
So the Devatas that are sort of representing this over mental realm, is that Varuna, Mitra, Ariman, and Bhaga? Does it also include Daksha, Ansha, and Surya?
Here we have a bit of a confusion which is difficult to resolve, because none of us have this kind of direct experience of these things, and so we are talking about it theoretically. Sri Aurobindo says that all the Godheads, the greatest, are coming from the overmental realm. From the supermind, they are not even there, so to say. Supramental realm, there are all the creatures, including these great Godheads, are there in their divine, so to say, prototype. And they are actively engaged from the overmental realms when there is a split already taking place, and the rays of the light of the sun kind of leaving the sun. There is a hymn in the Rig Veda, I think it is from the fifth mandala, 540, where there is a beautiful description of this highest overmental realm given. And it is given in such a way that the light of the sun is pervaded with the darkness. So these two, infinite darkness and infinite light, meet for the first time, and there is the overlapping of one with the other, or pervading of the light into the darkness, first leaving the body of the sun. And that is the overmental realm. So we have the first split between the truth and that which is not true. Yeah? The first movement of becoming. Sri Aurobindo speaks about these great clusters of light. They are not yet kind of differentiated into the individual form. They are still staying as a cosmic clusters, as you can imagine as galaxies or something, as universes. They are not yet differentiated into individual forms. So an Indra already, he is directing that Vishnu's overmental realm, because Vishnu is the Godhead of that overmental realm, directing it towards our differentiated world in time and space. So that light will be individualized, so to say, and working for particular individual purposes of our creation. So it is kind of as lightnings flashing down from the heaven and showing us, or revealing something, or killing the demons, or killing the distortions in our consciousness. So there will be always kind of that effect of Indra's lightning, which is described that lightning in its substance is the light of the sun, of Surya. It's quite interesting to see these pictures, what is happening. So here, when we are rising up, we are coming to the mental realm, and three first verses are dedicated to Ashvins. And Ashvins are very particular Godheads, very difficult to interpret because you don't find any kind of so to say parallels in the later tradition. Of course, we know that Nakula and Sahadeva, they are kind of projection of Ashvins and so on and so forth. But that is later interpretation. What is interesting about Ashvins is that they are very dear to man, yeah? And they are very helpful to men. They always help us, come very easy to help us, always saving us, always giving us relief. They can cure us, they can give us delight. They are godheads of delight. But notice they are Ashvins. They are the riders of the horse, yes? Riders. They are not the horse, as many times they are drawn later in the mythology with the horse heads and so on. It's not true at all. They are godheads riding the horse. They are sometimes on the chariot, and not much of them is really understood. Without Sri Aurobindo, I couldn't understand a thing. From others' description, why they're there, what they are doing. But in Sri Aurobindo's, it is given a hint that these two represent two movements of consciousness within the vital realm, but already charged with the supramental light. So to say, it's a mental vital force, so to say, driving mental force which is driving the vital force, because horse is the vital force basically, yeah? And it is driven by these mental two powers who are representing knowledge and power. They are as if they are the chit tapas of the supramental force which is acting upon the vital. It is as if so, you see. What is interesting that they are kind of on the both sides of the antariksha, so to say. One is in the higher realm, representing knowledge, and other is in the lower realm, representing power of that vital realm. But from the point of view of the supramental force, not from the point of view of vital itself. That's why they are always mentioned as companions of Indra, and they are driving the Surya, the daughter of the sun, in the chariot. They are
the chaperones.
Yes, they are the sons of the Saranyu, yes, of the. What is important to understand is that they represent that higher Surya force in application towards our life, towards our life force and life knowledge. Now, what is interesting about the antariksha, as you were mentioning today, that you are interested in antariksha. Antariksha is a triple realm. The highest of antariksha belongs to heaven. The lowest realm belongs to earth. Now, and in between there is a crack, so to say, proper antariksha. Yeah? So heaven and earth are cracked, and because they are split, that split creates triple antariksha. So the higher realm of it belongs to heaven, and the lower belongs to earth. So the lower realm is the realm of power, and the higher realm, and which belongs to heaven, is the realm of knowledge. And in between we have proper vital, so to say, vital antariksha. It is a vital world, yes, vital world. We call it the world of life. So life consists of heaven and earth, so to say, interacting through the gap. This is the mystery of life. I never could totally understand this mystery of life because of its gap between heaven and earth. But Sri Aurobindo, in his Savitri, his poetry, poem, he describes the movement from one realm to another. There is the whole book which is called The Traveler of the Worlds. And from level to level of consciousness, he describes every level in the Vedic paradigm. And there, when you come to the realm of life, there will be exactly these descriptions. There will be the realms and the kingdoms and the godheads of little life. That will be this lower realm. And there will be also the higher realms of life, where we have the paradise of life gods. The paradise of life gods. And that is the higher realm, where we are already immortal. We are on the other shore of this crack. This crack, this antariksha, splits us on heaven and earth, on a higher and lower hemisphere, on higher immortal worlds and lower mortal worlds, so to say. And there, these Ashvins play a very interesting role. One is kind of belonging to the higher realm of knowledge, and other is to the lower realm of power. But since they are working and going always together, because they are representing the supramental action upon life, they can succeed in life very tremendously. They can transform life, they can cure the dead, they can do many things. The wounded, and so on. Save people.
Do you think, because they're, I think somewhere also in the Rig Veda they're compared to, well, maybe it's the later Brahmanas, but they are compared to the inhalation and exhalation.
Right.
The force going up and then the force coming down, kind of the meeting from above and below.
Yes, Ida and Pingala, yes, they are compared, and Indra is compared to Sushumna, but it is in the later tradition of mental structure where they try to make sense out of it, some sense, because otherwise we do not know what they really represent. Truly speaking, nobody understands Ashvins. I don't know anybody who would meaningfully write about this topic. There will be always mythological content, there will be some pictures, some chariots, some fights, some marriages. There will be always something, how they save Bhuju from the ocean with their ship who fell into this ocean, yes, of abyss. This kind of, he was drowning in this abyss. By the way, that's what they save somebody from the ocean. This ocean is that crack, that antariksha, where you can sink into the inconscient, yeah? And basically falling into that realm of antariksha is very dangerous for us. It's a dangerous realm which we have to cross. Sometimes in many traditions it is described as a river which has to be crossed, and when we die we cross the river from one shore to another. This is what we do. From the shore of the mortality we move to the shore of immortality, yes? So basically this is where our life force, our vital realm is split into two. Mm-hmm.
Vladimir, would you mind at some point, it doesn't have to be at this very moment, but sometime before the end of the call, would you mind giving the citation in Savitri that you just referred to?
Right. This is the second book, the book of The Traveler of the Worlds, and if you go Savitri, the poem of Sri Aurobindo, it's one of the most beautiful things. I was quoting from it quite a bit in our presentation already. It's a poetic composition, and yes, wow, this is an amazing book, most difficult to read. Nobody likes it because it is full of information which is of this yogic kind. It's like an experience. You can read what you will experience on this level of consciousness. Yeah, he gives very beautiful a meeting with creatures and what is happening and how you see it and so on and so forth. So basically, yes.
Sorry, you said the verse and it dropped out when you said which verse of Savitri you were referring to.
Savitri.
I didn't hear what you just said.
Book 2, the book of the Travel of the Worlds within Sri Aurobindo Savitri.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Can I also ask one other thing? You said when you were talking about the two movements of consciousness,
Right.
And you said the horses represent just
Life force, vital force. Yes. In the Vedic vision, and that's according to Sri Aurobindo, there are two important symbols in the Veda. That is of the horse and of the cow or the bull. Yeah? Yes. Or sometimes cow is more important even than the... Yeah, Vrishan is always the Lord, yes, because he is the head of the cows. But cows are those who give milk, give this essence of knowledge, because milk is the symbol of knowledge. And from here, ghritam, this clarified butter is produced, which is that symbol of luminous or clarified mentality, as he kind of interprets it. And I think it is very valuable because it makes totally sense afterwards why certain things take place. For example, why Indra's horses are dripping with butter. They are not dripping with butter because they were kind of dripping with real butter. But that butter is that clarity of mentality. And he says that the meaning of Grita is heated butter. It is with the heat within, and it is also yellow in color, golden, so to say, and that gold color is also important. So all these...
Is the heat, the dynamism of Ritam, is that considered Ritam versus Sajam, that the heat is active?
I said Ghritam, I am sorry, I said Ghritam. Ghritam is that...
But you said it was dripping with the heated butter.
Yes, with Grita, yes. For example, as
Is that heat considered transformational or transforming or active?
Yeah. This Ghritam is from root Ghri, to be heated up. So to say, it has a dharma from here, the word which means the fire. Yeah, in a way. It is that heat within the butter, which is the constituent of that quality of the luminous mentality. It can transform. It is not just the color or the substance. So there is much to think about, because later this Ghritam, Ghi, is compared by many yogis to the state of dhyana, when you have that movement of consciousness which is very soft and luminous and warm and golden, and they all compare it with Ghi. It's very interesting. So I thought this parallel makes sense, because what Sri Aurobindo says about luminous mentality, the quality of it is compared to the clarified butter. And so this
mandala, in ninth mandala, Soma, that Soma mandala, constantly talking about the golden fluid dripping down and being filtered and all of that.
Right, with Soma there is also something, because Grita is definitely related to the milk, and Soma is a product of something else, which is not milk, definitely not. So to say, it's a clarified or purified or distilled substance of our delight in our sensual nature, in our mortality. In our mortality there is immortality hiding, the delight of immortality. And that is being distilled, and actually nobody knows what soma is also. There were many propositions to see that it is a plant. We know that it was a plant, a symbol of a plant. Yeah, the plant was crushed and purified and distilled and mixed and distilled again. So many thought even that it was an alcohol or some kind of drug which was making others drunk, and they felt divine, and and Indra also.
Interesting, they do mention in a couple places that they would mix the soma before offering it to most of the gods. I mean, that Indra and Vayu were the only two that would take it in its pure, that could handle it in its pure state. And for the other gods, they mixed it with milk and sometimes with other substances. So we have sort of the milk coming to the knowledge, or luminous knowledge coming together with the delight of soma.
Right. There is something very, very interesting about soma and these milk and their relations. I like what you say, Radhe. It makes sense to me to think in that direction in psychological terms. So they are offered to, but in the Rig Veda everything is very different from what is explained later, starting from Brahmanas. In the Rig Veda there is more freedom to everything, and soma is offered to all the gods. Yeah, and I don't remember soma being kind of particularly distinguished among different godheads. Agni Soma, for example, is a constant dvandva. Agni is always partaking of soma in a pure way. So I would not make that distinction. Maybe later it is significant for psychological knowledge. Most probably it is. There is something they want to say by that. But I have to check it, what you are saying with the Rig Veda, to be totally precise. I don't remember this distinction. So
the distinction in that certain, like Indra and Vayu would take it pure.
Yeah, I don't remember that they are the one who take it in a pure way, and others don't. This others don't, I don't remember. But
Is Pavamana the same as Soma?
yes, Soma Pavamana. Pavamana is from root pu, to purify. It's a purifier. From here, Pavaka, for example, is fire, also purifier. Yes, so in Soma and Agni, both are purifiers. One is growing on the other, yes? They are both interrelated. The Agni is growing on Soma, and he needs Soma for his growth.
That makes sense.
Yes, why we shifted totally into another realm, trying to explain Antariksha in relation to Ashvins, and why Ashvins are seen to be related to the life force, why they are so effective to make changes and to cure, especially to cure, and to save human beings. And they are doing this very easily with help, very powerful beings, though they don't look like powerful beings. And they also begin the day, the Ashvins. These
Usher in the dawn.
right, they come before the dawn in a way. So it's something very strange about them, especially this, that they come before the dawn. They are already seen, so to say. They are signifying the coming of the dawn.
Very mysterious.
Right. So it's a kind of intervention of the highest realm of the sun into our life, and acting upon it from the Chit Tapas, Chit Shakti, consciousness force. In that sense, they are very effective. So, saying all that, for the sake of these 3 verses, I will go through them one by one.
You would also
Yes?
Just mention one other thing, Vladimir, is do you place any, or what significance do you place on what appears to be, at least in the 10th mandala, appears to be that they came after the Adityas, yeah, right? And many of the other sun gods.
Right.
It's like third generation. So, it always seemed to me as though there was some function that was needed that the other godheads weren't as equipped to provide, and so the Ashvins, and so they gave birth to the Ashvins, who could perform this, whatever it is, this unique function that was required between heaven and earth. So I don't know if you how you would interpret that, or what significance you would put on it.
Well, it's actually all of them were needed for this manifestation. Without Ashvins, there won't be any sort of certain manifestation here, so to say. But of course, there is a hierarchy of forces there within the supermind, I'm sure, and these Adityas represent bigger movements. In a sense, Satchit, Ananda, these are greater forces, yes, which are presented in the supermind, supramental action. And Ashvins have something to do in particular of that force projected into the vital. And again, I'm speaking of the vital, because they are Ashvins. In this word, there is the whole secret, yeah, in their name, Ashvins. So they are Ashvin, the one who sits on the horse, the rider on the horse, and that rider is that supramental force, riding the life force of our being. So there is someone who directs it, or who cures it, who purifies it, who saves it, and so on and so forth. Well, it is also for me a big mystery, and I'm just telling you what I know for sure. Yes, what I don't know for sure is, truly speaking, how it is all with them. Truly, I read so many hymns on Ashvins. I have the whole chapter. I do not know how many of them. Nearly, I selected all of them from the Rig Veda and translated all of them to understand their functionality. And truly speaking, while doing that, I got the sense of it. But when you leave it, it again becomes very vague and very far remote, because it's another psychology altogether. So in order to come near to this understanding, we need to dwell on it over a certain period of time. It was a very good exercise I did with this Institute of Indian Psychology. We did, you know what we did, yes? We took hymns to Agni, 50 hymns, and we went through it over the period of 2 years, yes? Dwelling on them and studying only Agni. Then we took Mitra and Varuna, or Adityas, all the Aditya hymns I took, and I presented to hymn by hymn. We dwelled on them, and we got the sense of these devatas. And then we took Indra, then Indra was next. And then Ashvins, and Maruts. Well, Maruts took long time, because Maruts are other great godheads who are not understood easily. So, and then Ashvins. And after that, dwelling over 1.5 years on Ashvins only, we got the sense, and we could distinguish them from other godheads clearly by feeling, by psychological experience, and so on. It's a profound psychology, it's a kind of cosmic psychology, psychology of universals, if you like. It is not the individual psychology, and in that sense one has to dwell on them. If one is not, then you are losing the thread or something. They are not suggesting you anymore the true answer. So to say, you are cut off from them, you have to connect to them again, that they will tell you exactly what they represent. But I can say the words what they represent, but that would not be the same. Yeah, though I would say even the same, but it would not sound the same. Sorry to the.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah, because it has to be explained. It sounds a little bit crazy, but it is so. Yeah. Okay, Ashvina Yajvarih Isho Dravat Pani Shubhaspati Purubhuja Chanasyatam, O riders of the steed, swift-footed, much enjoying lords of bliss, take delight in the energies of the sacrifice. Take delight in the energies of the sacrifice. Chanasyatam. Yeah, Sri Aurobindo speaks about very special things in detail. For example, Isha, Ish. And he compares this from throughout the Veda, how it is being used. He did a great work actually as a scholar on the Veda. And here Isha is used also, much enjoying, swift-footed, much enjoying lords of bliss, Shubhaspati, take delight in the energies of the sacrifice. That is Isha, yeah? Yajvarih Ishaha, so to say, sacrificial impulses or energies. And what are these impulses? It's also very interesting. It is kind of aspirations, yes? Aspirations for transformation, for change, for finding and manifesting the truth. These are the impulses within the nature. So they are kind of enjoying or taking delight in these energies. It's a profound already concept as such, because these energies, these aspirations, these impulses are coming from the soul, from our soul nature, yes? And they will join with them and enjoy them, so to say, within us. So they will widen the scope of these energies or impulses. Sri Aurobindo speaks on this Isha a few times in different relations, and there are many different terms with Ish in the Veda, by the way. I give here the whole his comment on the Ish.
Is luminous delight?
Energy. It's an energy. From root Ish to desire. Yeah? It's a desire. It is seeking the realization. From root E to move, it's a movement with energy, if you like.
And that's how you get the aspiration.
Right, that's why you get S there, sh, fricative. Yeah? You have this E movement with the fricative, with the energy. So to say movement with the energy gives the meaning of this impulse or energy. By the way, Sri Aurobindo is very systematic with the philological approach to the meaning of the Veda. Yes, he will confirm linguistically, etymologically, every term. He will base on it. He says that rishis were very systematic with this. They would never use the word which does not fit etymologically. So the whole proof of the truthfulness of his theory is within etymology, and not within his own kind of understanding, yeah? So to say. And that is very good for us, because it's scientific in a way. We can approach it also. So sometimes the prayer is not for luminous delight or luminous plenitude, he says, but for the luminous impulsion or force which Ish represents. Yeah? Bring to us, O daughter of heaven, luminous impulsions along with the rays of the sun. Gomatir Isha Avaha Duhitar Diva. sakam suryasya rashmibhih. Sayana explains that this means shining foods, but it is obviously nonsense to talk of radiant foods being brought by dawn with the rays of the sun. If ish means food, then we have to understand by the phrase food of cow's flesh, because gomatir ishach. This is, so to say, made of go. But although the eating of the cow's flesh was not forbidden in the early times, and it is true, as is apparent from the Brahmanas, still that this sense which Sayana avoids as shocking to the later Hindu sentiment is not intended. It would be quite as absurd as the other, is proven by other verse of the Rig Veda, in which the Ashvins are invoked to give the luminous impulsion that carries us through to the other side of the darkness. And that is interesting. This other side of the darkness, is that what I was telling you just now about the two shores which vital force represents, yes? And in between there is this darkness, this ocean into which we can sink, from which Ashvins save Bhuju, the sinking soul, and they pull him with their ship and bring him to the other shore.
Could that sinking have to do with getting caught up
Right.
in the delight of the earth, or of the vital, and not being connected to the delight of the heaven?
Usually it is when we travel to another shore, yes, and we have to cross the ocean or cross the darkness, and by crossing that river or ocean or darkness, there are many dangers there on the way, and these dangers are such that they can sink us down and so on. They may not be conducive to our traveling to the other shore. That's why when we die, Yama, for example, sends his Sarameya dogs, in the Rig Veda, or later he sends his, so to say, helpers to bring us to the other shore. What they do, they protect us from those forces which attack us on the way.
Can you speak more about that? Is that okay, Radha? I mean,
Sure.
What are those forces that can sink us on the way?
There are many of them. Yeah, they have all the names in the Rig Veda. Rig Veda is very rich with the naming all those dark forces.
And that's what your guru does, is kind of makes sure that you
Right, Guru.
you can tell the difference between a masquerading, marauding dark force and a test or something along those lines.
When we die, for example, we have to cross that river or that ocean, or that darkness. By the way, to come to the other shore, to our place of where we are immortal and cannot be harmed anymore, so to say, to the paradise of the life gods, what we call paradise. It's a good word because it is religiously actually explaining all that there we don't have any danger anymore for ourselves. We can relax finally and be ourselves as we are. So on that other shore, to cross there, to go there will be a passage, and that passage is dangerous. And by the way, Mother speaks about this a lot, and she says interesting things. She says that before there was no passage there over the vital world, over that antariksha. So every time you cross there, it is very dangerous. That's why we have the Book of the Dead, telling telling exactly what to do in order to cross safely that passage. And but she said that she built a tunnel over that realm for people, so now they can safely move without really being endangered to the attacks from the vital world, which are coming from the inconscient. There are many creatures there. In the book of the Travelers of the World, Sri Aurobindo speaks about in one canto, which is called The Mother of Evil and the Sons of Darkness. It is exactly in that crack, Antariksha. You can go down, you can sink down and come to the world where the suffocation and the pressure of darkness is so great that you may be lost. And by the way, in the Rig Veda it's mentioned also that the fire, Agni, was scared from Vritra, and yes, and had to run and to hide deeply in the subconscious, in the dark place where nobody could find him. So in a way, it's a very strange geography there, but there is that crack in between, which we have to cross to our part of our life where we are safe. So our life has two poles, heaven and earth. Yeah? Earthly pole is the embodiment in our physical, in our physical body. To embody ourselves in the physical body, we need this part. Yeah? And other part of our life belongs to heaven, to our consciousness, knowledge, light, where we are totally safe as souls. Yes? So our vital nature is of this double formation. And in between there is this crossing passage which links us to the inconscient world and to the superconscient world. You remember my picture, which is going beyond, this kind of growing out of that crack to both worlds beyond. Mm-hmm. So that is how our geography works, psychological geography. So here we have this a very interesting.
One wonders if you've already if you have a contact with the superconscient, the supernatural, how it's possible to fall into the inconscient once you have located at least or been exposed to the superconscient.
Well, that inconscient is also the divine, yes, the divine being, which has no light, and we have a great interest, by the way, as souls, in that darkness. That's why we came down. We have, yes, we have.
The entire media is a demonstration.
Not only politics and everything what is happening in the world shows. Interesting.
Shows and everything.
Right.
It's very compelling.
Right. And if, yeah.
I just this is a huge question for me. Is how once you've been exposed to the realms of heaven by any level of your experience, how you could be in danger, how that danger, what is it that's eating, what is feeding on, dragging a person, a being, a creature, a soul who has experienced those higher realms into the inconscient, or the dark.
Right. It's a profound question. Why we are attracted to this darkness when we are already made of light, and
how you can fall, how you can once you've tasted, how you can fall from that.
You know what Bhishma says? He says, "I know what is dharma." And I know what is adharma. But I don't understand. After knowing what is dharma and adharma, why am I attracted to adharma and not to dharma? It's a profound question. Why are we attracted?
At the end of Mahabharata.
Yeah, but at the end of his life, yes, because Bhishma died in the 5th book. But in a way, what is that interest of being attracted to the darkness? Yeah? And there, what I was looking for, very interesting passage, which Sri Aurobindo explains it so beautifully. Nobody did. Why we are attracted to this darkness and.
Well, that's part of our purpose, right? Is to go into the darkness.
Right.
Light.
This is the Vedic purpose. Yeah.
So,
And it also mimics the light.
Right.
In a certain way, there is delight. You said last week that there's delight even in killing.
Right.
But it has. It's not the light because it ends. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the light doesn't. It's immortal. It doesn't end.
Right.
But what was the thing you said once? It was a quote from the Bible that the first in heaven. What was? Oh gosh. Bible. You said something. The last. Something to the effect that those who go deepest into the darkness are the first to heaven.
Yeah, Jesus says about this. Those who are the last will be the first in the kingdom of my Father. And this is the thing with Jesus. And this is something which people don't understand, because without Vedic paradigm, there's not much to understand here. But if you see it from the Vedic perspective, you will see that we, those who went deep into the manifestation, into the inconscient, we brought with ourselves that connection to the light. And we are there to transform that darkness with our sacrifice. We give our life away, our knowledge, our blissful state. We give everything away for this transformation. And so to say, that's what Jesus also did by his sacrifice. So he brought that light of his Father down. I think Jesus in many ways very Vedic. By the way, if I examine his words, you will be surprised that my examination of his words completely different from what usually Christians say. Or for example, what he says that he is the only Son of God. I recently understood, when I was in Korea, I understood that what it means. It means actually there is only one Son of God. It is the psychic being, the projection of the soul in the heart. And only through that projection of the soul in the heart we can come to the kingdom of his Father. We cannot come to him, to heaven, by other way, by other means. So in a way it is very meaningful. That's why he says, I am in the heart of every man. What does it mean? How can Jesus be in the heart of... But people interpret it as if they have faith in Jesus or whatever. Yeah?
Well, as if Jesus is an individual.
Right. Who was the only Son of God, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But what we are doing here then, then if he was the only...
Hebrews did the same thing with their chosen people.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with that as individual people had to do. It's exactly the same thing.
Right. So this is the passage from Savitri where when Narad comes, maybe you remember the story of Savitri. Narad comes and he announces that Satyavan must die, and Savitri is says that she cannot choose any other person, only Satyavan. And then in Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, it is very interesting because Savitri's mother complains to Narad and says that she refuses this world. If this is the end, if that has to be for her Savitri, such fate, she refuses to accept it. And this is called the canto, The Way of Fate and the Problem of Pain. It's a very interesting book of fate. So here what he answers, it's very interesting. We must read a little bit. It will be answering all your questions about why we are attracted to the darkness. O mortal who complainst of death and fate, accuse none of the harms thyself hast caused. This troubled world thou hast chosen for thy home. Thou art thyself the author of thy pain. Once, in the immortal boundlessness of self, in the vast of truth and consciousness and light, the soul looked out from its felicity. It felt the spirit's interminable bliss. It knew itself deathless, timeless, spaceless, one. It saw the eternal, lived in the infinite. Then, curious of a shadow thrown by truth, it strained towards some otherness of self. Now look at this. It strained towards some otherness of self. It was drawn to an unknown face peering through night. It sensed a negative infinity, a void supernal, whose immense excess, imitating God and everlasting time, offered a ground for nature's adverse birth, and matter's rigid, hard unconsciousness, harboring the brilliance of a transient soul that lights up birth and death and ignorant life. As one drawn by the grandeur of the void, the soul attracted leaned to the abyss. It longed for the adventure of ignorance and the marvel and the surprise of the unknown, and the endless possibility that lurked in the womb of chaos and in nothingness gulf, or looked from the unfathomed eyes of chance. It tired of its unchanging happiness. Look at these words.
Wow.
It turned away from immortality. It was drawn to hazard's call, to danger's charm. It yearned to the pathos of grief and drama of pain, perdition's peril, and the wounded bear escape. It wanted to experience these things. The wounded bear escape. Where would soul experience that in that immortal happiness, infinite? The music of ruin and its glamour and crash, the savor of pity and the gamble of love, and passion and the ambiguous face of fate. A world of hard endeavor and difficult toil, and battle on extinction's perilous verge, a clash of forces, a vast incertitude. Where there is incertitude in that infinite bliss. There is only certitude there. The joy of creation out of nothingness. Strange meetings on the roads of ignorance, and the companionship of half-known souls. That's what we are. We are companionship of half-known souls. We would never have this experience there. or the solitary greatness and lonely force of a separate being conquering its world, called it from its too safe eternity. So all these things called it from its too safe eternity. It was an attractive proposition for the soul. And
So the soul got bored.
and now it is the conclusive part. A huge descent began, a giant fall. For what the spirit sees creates a truth, and what the soul imagines is made a world. So here we have the answer to everything. We are adventurous beings. We want to have this. We like it. It's for us. We are full of immortality ourselves already. We don't want that immortality. We want immortality here in the body. We want to bring all those possibilities here down and to experience all the dangers, all the adventure, all the incertitude. You remember there was a movie on Achilles of the Troy's war, and Achilles reveals the secret to his lover, and he tells her, I will reveal to you one secret. She asks him, you are the god, why you are here? What are you looking here for in this war? To Achilles. And he says, I will reveal to you a secret. Gods, he says, envy us. Because here every moment is unique, will never repeat itself again. It's only one opportunity every time given. It's a very unique world into which we entered. And here it's very interesting. How Sri Aurobindo also sees this. Anyhow, that makes totally sense to me now, and I started to love this world and all the, dangers and disadvantages and everything, because everything makes sense then. And it's very Vedic in a way. This diversity is wanted.
This was the original desire for
Right.
creation, to experience its multitude of
Right,
selves or aspects.
right. And
So it's a
But
matter
then
of
what would the danger be? Then why could there be danger if there was you couldn't fall, you could just experience another aspect.
But then that would be not really true. Then it would be like a game or something. You are proposing kind of cheating, But it's okay. I also many people asked this.
I'm talking about the crack.
Yeah, there's a crack.
How would you fall into the crack if it was just part of the experience of totality?
Right. The question was, it's a valid question, of course, of that why we should have this danger of disappearing and being harmed and so on. And this is the whole country is called the problem of pain, so in a way, the world is real. He is real. It's not something. How to say? It's not a game only. But there is a good news for us that our soul is stronger anyhow, all the fallen beings, and in that sense it is secured in the final outcome. But on the way there will be many kind of battles, and the whole sacrifice is also presented in the Veda as a march or as a battlefield. It's a constant battle with these forces. Which are coming for transformation and want to occupy us and take us down. And we have to meet them and to conquer them. So
You said you conquer them by killing them.
Well, killing is a relative thing. Killing, what is killing in a way? You destroy the formation of darkness within them, and then they reveal their true nature, light, which is hidden there. What Krishna did or Rama did when he killed those demons, those trees or something, they said, we waited for you so long when you will come and destroy us. Because the true nature was revealed of light. It's a way of transformation, so to say.
So these forces of darkness and these situations of risk and peril, they present to the soul a way of accomplishing its mission, which is to shed or to show the light that is within each of these situations or scenarios. Is an accurate statement?
Most valuable question for myself also, what you are asking, whether I'm really ready to be courageous enough to meet the life as it is. I'm always manipulating, always kind of making something which will be more comfortable for me to live or to sustain but I'm not meeting it live face to face, courageously and without really fear.
Face to face means with acceptance of the way it of the existence of it as it is.
I feel in myself shrinking. Of course I can't but accept what comes, but I feel every time shrinking and feel every time that I'm a coward. I'm coward here to say the truth, I'm coward there to be honest, I'm coward there. I'm doing this all the time, lying to myself, to others. I feel this is the darkness, if you want. This is what we are dealing with every day. There is no other darkness, by the way. If we could face life and face what is true, we would transform it very fast, very efficiently. We would be given all the forces, all the gods will come to help us, to fight on our side. But we are not totally believing in it, so to say. We managed to survive on the way and to manipulate with truth and falsehood in such a way that we will be prosperous to a certain extent. Prosperous is a very relative term here. We will just live a little longer meaningless life, That's what we would do. But to meet face to face, as for example Jesus did when he was brought to this judge in the temple, he asked him 2 questions. They say that you are Messiah, yes? The first question. Jesus says, yes, I am. And the second question was very interesting. Why did you come? And Jesus says, to face the truth to the end. This courage, to face the truth to the end and to be crucified for it, to go for it anyhow, knowing what it means, I don't think I have. For that you need, even Jesus himself, he was asking the Father before that night, he was asking to help him with courage to go through. He already knew what he was going through. So you will be met by forces which are opposing the movement of the truth if you take the truth. But there will be forces of truth on your side. And more you, have courage, more you can really do it, this transformation, this battle, more you will have support of these greater forces. And the whole Rig Veda is about this only, invoking those forces for the battles. And you will see how many battles are here, with Vritra, with Shushna, with all the Rakshasas and Paishachas and God knows who, Asuras, Vala, and Panis, and there are many names which we do not meet often, but Sri Aurobindo actually gives their interpretation, psychological, what they really do, why they are there.
I would be interested in that because we're always looking at Mitra and Varuna.
Right. Right. We will meet them definitely. They will be waiting for us because.
Right around the corner.
This makes me wonder, actually, a little aside, I suppose, but in Jyotish, the house, the bhava that signifies courage, is a dustana. It makes me wonder.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's also
The mild dustana.
upachaya, right? So
Yes, that's true.
It grows, rises to the occasion over time with effort, staying with it, not quitting. So if you're true to the nature of that bhava, then the ability to be courageous grows. And so
Brilliant.
that's...
Yes, brilliant. Thank you. That's the answer.
Anyhow, Jyotisha is a very unique system of, I think, Vedic interpretation of the world, simply in different language, and I was always wondering that one day maybe I will be able to understand that connection. And I met you. You see, that's interesting. All the Jyotishis who are doing this work and are interested in the Vedic interpretation of the world. Because when the Vedas were finished, so to say, with their kind of tradition, finished in a sense that they couldn't succeed with transformation, as Sri Aurobindo says, due to the failure of Vedic rishis, there was a split on two traditions. There was one line of tradition went towards the materialistic, occultistic, scientific world, which we have as a Chaldean Semitic traditions, and so on. Because before there was common tradition, yes, there was Aryan Chaldean tradition, one tradition. And then they split into two different directions. One went towards the material world and occult powers, and from here we have science and the whole Western tradition of scientific perception of the world. And other is more Advaitic, Advaitic, so to say, denying nature. So there was a split on accepting nature but losing the spirit, making it transcendental, not reaching to nature, as it is in the Chaldean tradition, in Semitic, where the God is never kind of reaching towards us, he is always separate. That's why Jesus was crucified, because he was speaking about our union with the Father, and which was impossible for that tradition to accept. That's why I say Jesus is closer to the Vedic. He brought this dynamism of the soul and speaking about a union, about kingdom of his Father on earth, which is also a unique thing. And Aryan, which became more and more Advaitic, denying nature, seeking mukti, going to Brahman, dropping all the natures. So this split happened due to the failure, as Sri Aurobindo says, of Vedic rishis to transform life, transform earthly life with this power of the spirit. It didn't happen because the humanity was not ready or something of that kind. We had.
Well, that is one reason why I think this whole study of the sacrifice, I feel, or the exposure of the intellect to the sacrifice is so useful,
right,
and profound. That's for me anyway, and I think Rate also that what compels us to study Veda first and foremost is to understand sacrifice.
Right. It's the central notion of the whole Veda. Sacrifice is that interaction of the spirit and nature, where the nature is being transformed by the spirit. So, and there are procedures, there is knowledge how to do it. There are, so to say, powers of consciousness, of luminous, higher consciousness, which can come and do it in a gradual and orderly manner. Also, all that could be studied. It's a psychology of universals, which can be applied to our life in general, not only to our individual life, but to our collective life, consciousness, which they actually doing. I think. And they are still there, Sri Aurobindo says. They are waiting, and they are always ready to assist us in our ascent, in our work, in the same manner. So to say, the Veda is a program for this Manvantara to do certain work for the group soul. Yeah? It's kind of a memory or a plan of the engagement with nature, which we as a group soul once made at the beginning of Manvantara, yeah? In between Manvantaras, before we came down with this plan. Now this plan is recorded within this language, with this kind of symbolic language, but it gives us hints of how we should proceed and what we should remember, that luminous knowledge. So anyhow, it's interesting topic in general, but yeah. We already over time, yes, very much so.
We are. But it was wonderful and beautiful.
Good session today. Thank you so much.
All right, so we will close with the mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishteta mano me vachi pratishtetam Aviravirmaedi Vedasyama anistha Shrutam me ma prahasihi Anena dhitena horatran Samdadhami Ritam vadashyami Satyam vadashyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaram avatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you both so much for
Yes,
being the vehicle for this amazing
thank you.
light and bliss and delight and knowledge to come flooding forth into this world.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.